My parents gave my sister Rachel $150,000 for her wedding and told me I didn't deserve help because I hadn't earned it the way she had. I was 26 years old, working 2 jobs to finish my master's degree, and I hadn't asked them for a single dollar in 3 years. Rachel was 28, unemployed for the 4th time that year, and planning a wedding that cost more than most people's houses. When I asked why there was such a massive difference in how they treated us, my dad looked me dead in the eye and said, "Rachel needs us. You've always been fine on your own." That was the moment I realized I wasn't their daughter. I was their insurance policy. The one who didn't need attention, didn't need money, didn't need love, because I had learned early on that asking for any of those things meant being told I was selfish. So I stopped asking. I stopped expecting. And eventually, I stopped showing up altogether. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, stay until the end. Because what happened next changed everything. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real-life stories like this one to light. Now, let's get back to it, ***. I grew up in a house where Rachel was the sun and I was expected to orbit quietly. My dad, Coleman, was in his mid-60s now, retired early from a corporate job that paid well enough to fund Rachel's lifestyle without question. My mom, Vera, was in her mid-50s, a former nurse who stopped working the moment Rachel was born because she needed me more than the hospital did. I was born 2 years later, and by then, the roles were already cast. Rachel was sensitive. Rachel was special. Rachel had anxiety, allergies, and a list of emotional triggers that grew longer every year. I was the easy one. The one who didn't cry as much, didn't need as much, didn't cause problems. So I learned to be small. I learned to make myself useful. I learned that my value in that house was measured by how little I asked for and how much I could give. When I was 7, I won a regional spelling bee. I remember coming home with the trophy, so excited I could barely breathe. My mom smiled and said, "That's wonderful, sweetie," and then immediately turned to Rachel, who was sulking on the couch because she'd had a bad day at school. The trophy ended up on a shelf in my room. Rachel's participation ribbons were framed in the hallway. When I was 12, I made the honor roll for the 3rd year in a row. My parents took me out for ice cream. 2 weeks later, Rachel failed her math test and they hired her a tutor, bought her a new laptop, and told me I needed to help her study because you're so good at school, and she's struggling. When I was 16, I got my first job. My parents said they were proud of me for being responsible. Rachel was 18 and had quit her 3rd part-time job because her manager didn't respect her creativity. They paid her car insurance for another year and told me I could start covering my own now that I was working. It wasn't abuse. It wasn't neglect in the traditional sense. It was just pattern. A slow, steady current that pushed me to one side and pulled Rachel to the center. And I convinced myself it was normal. That all families had a favorite. That I just needed to work harder, be better, prove that I was worth the same attention. Spoiler, I never was. By the time I hit my mid-20s, I had built a life I was proud of. I worked full-time as a research assistant at a university while finishing my master's in public health. I lived in a small apartment with my best friend, Nyla, who had become more of a sister to me than Rachel ever was. I paid my own bills, managed my own stress, and had started to build a boundary between myself and my family that felt healthy. I still visited. I still showed up for holidays. But I had learned not to expect much. Rachel, meanwhile, had bounced between jobs, relationships, and cities like she was allergic to stability. She'd moved back home 4 times in 6 years. Each time, my parents welcomed her with open arms, cleared out the guest room, paid off her credit cards, and assured her she could stay as long as she needed. And each time, she'd leave again the moment she met a new boyfriend or got bored. Then she met Dante. Dante was fine. Polite enough, decent job in marketing, seemed to genuinely care about Rachel. They got engaged after 10 months, which felt fast, but Rachel had always been impulsive. I was happy for her. I really was. I thought maybe this would be the thing that finally grounded her. The wedding planning started immediately. And that's when everything spiraled. I first heard about the budget during a family dinner. Rachel was gushing about venues, showing my mom pictures on her phone, talking about destination weddings and custom floral arrangements. My dad was nodding along, smiling in that indulgent way he always did with her. "We're thinking maybe $100,000, Rachel said casually, like she was talking about buying a couch. I almost choked on my water. "That's a lot," I said carefully. Rachel waved me off. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, Emma. You wouldn't understand." My mom reached over and squeezed Rachel's hand. "We want you to have the wedding of your dreams, sweetheart." I looked at my dad. "You're paying for all of it?" "Of course," he said. "She's our daughter." The implication hung in the air. "So are you," I wanted to say. But I didn't. I just smiled and changed the subject. Over the next few months, the budget ballooned. $100,000 became $120,000. Then $140,000. Then $150,000. My parents paid for everything without hesitation. The venue. The dress. The flowers. The photographer. The honeymoon. Rachel didn't contribute a single dollar. Dante's family covered the rehearsal dinner, but that was it. I tried not to think about it. I tried to focus on my own life. But it was hard not to notice the contrast. I had taken out loans for grad school. I worked 2 jobs to cover rent and groceries. I hadn't asked my parents for help because I knew what the answer would be. And watching them hand Rachel more money than I'd seen in my entire life felt like confirmation of something I'd always suspected: I didn't matter as much. But I kept my mouth shut. I showed up to dress fittings. I smiled in photos. I played the role of supportive sister because that's what I'd always done. And then, 2 months before the wedding, everything fell apart. I had been planning a trip for over a year. A research conference in Denver that was directly related to my thesis work. It was a huge opportunity, a chance to present my findings, network with professionals in my field, and potentially line up job offers for after graduation. The conference was expensive, but I'd saved for months. I'd booked my flight, registered, prepared my presentation. I was so excited I could barely sleep. The conference was scheduled for the same weekend as Rachel's bachelorette party. I didn't think it would be a problem. The bachelorette party was in Las Vegas, a 4-day trip that I honestly couldn't afford anyway. I told Rachel months in advance that I wouldn't be able to make it because of the conference. She said she understood. My mom seemed fine with it. I thought we were good. I was wrong. 3 weeks before the conference, my mom called me. "Emma, we need to talk about the bachelorette party." I was in the middle of editing my presentation. "What about it?" "Rachel's really upset that you're not coming." I frowned. I told her months ago I couldn't make it. She said it was fine. Well, it's not fine. She's been crying about it all week. She feels like you don't care about her wedding. I closed my laptop. "Mom, this conference is important. It's literally my career. And this is your sister's wedding. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. The conference is once in a lifetime too. I've worked so hard for this." There was a long pause. Then my mom sighed. "Your father and I think you should cancel the conference and go to Vegas." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You're joking." "We're not. Rachel needs you there. Family comes first. I've already paid for everything. The registration. The flight. The hotel. I can't get refunds. We'll reimburse you." I sat there in stunned silence. "You'll reimburse me," I repeated slowly. "Yes. We'll cover whatever you lose. But you need to be there for your sister. I felt something crack inside me. You're giving Rachel $150,000 for a wedding, and you're asking me to throw away a career opportunity so I can watch her get drunk in Vegas? Don't be dramatic, Emma. This is about supporting family. I am supporting her. I'm going to the wedding. I'm in the bridal party. I've been to every single event. But I'm not canceling the most important conference of my life because Rachel decided she needs me at a party I told her I couldn't attend. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter, I snapped. But apparently that doesn't mean much unless I'm the one crying about it. My mom's voice went cold. We've always supported you, Emma. You've never needed us the way Rachel does. That's because you never let me need you. You just expected me to figure it out on my own while you gave her everything. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Mom. She hung up. If you're still with me, thank you. This is where things really start to shift. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, ***. I didn't hear from my parents for 2 days. Then my dad called. We need to have a family meeting, he said. Tomorrow. At the house. I have work. Take the afternoon off. This is important. I almost said no. But some part of me, some stupid, hopeful part, thought maybe they were going to apologize. Maybe they realized how unfair they'd been. Maybe this was the moment things would finally change. I showed up at 3 p.m. the next day. Rachel was already there, sitting on the couch with her arms crossed. My parents were in the armchairs, looking serious. I sat down across from them and waited. My dad cleared his throat. Emma, your mother and I have been talking, and we think you're being selfish. I blinked. Excuse me? Rachel's wedding is one of the most important days of her life, and you're prioritizing your career over being there for her. I'm going to the wedding, I said slowly. I'm just not going to the bachelorette party because I have a conference. But she wants you there, my mom said. And you're choosing work over family. It's not just work. It's my future. Rachel scoffed. You always do this. I turned to her. Do what? Make everything about you. This is my wedding, Emma. My moment. And you can't even put me first for one weekend. I stared at her. You've had 18 months of moments, Rachel. 18 months of dress shopping and cake tastings and venue tours. I've been there for all of it. But I told you from the beginning I couldn't do Vegas, and you said it was fine. I was trying to be supportive, she snapped. But clearly you don't care. I do care. But I also care about my own life. Which apparently makes me selfish in this family. My dad held up a hand. Enough. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to cancel the conference, go to Vegas, and stop making this difficult. And if I don't? He leaned back in his chair. Then don't expect any help from us moving forward. We've already given you more than enough. I laughed bitterly. You've given me nothing. We paid for your undergrad, my mom said. With loans that I'm still paying off. You didn't co-sign. You didn't contribute. You just told me to figure it out. And you did, my dad said. Because you're capable. Rachel needs more support. She needs to grow up, I said quietly. And you need to stop enabling her. Rachel stood up. Get out. I looked at her. This is Mom and Dad's house. I don't care. Get out. I don't want you at my bachelorette party, and I don't want you at my wedding. My parents said nothing. I looked at them, waiting for them to step in. To tell Rachel she was being ridiculous. To defend me, just once. They didn't. I stood up. Fine. and I walked out. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, shaking. I didn't cry. I just stared at the steering wheel and tried to process what had just happened. My own sister had uninvited me to her wedding, and my parents had let her. Then my phone rang. It was my Aunt Maggie, my dad's older sister. She lived 2 hours away and visited a few times a year. We'd always gotten along, but we weren't particularly close. "Emma, are you okay?" I frowned. "How did you?" "Your mom just called me. She said you're refusing to go to Rachel's bachelorette party and causing problems." Of course she did. "That's not what happened," I said, and I told her everything. The conference. The ultimatum. The meeting. Rachel's meltdown. My parents' silence. When I finished, there was a long pause. "I'm coming to town," Maggie said. "I'll be there in 2 hours. Meet me at that coffee shop on 5th Street. "Aunt Maggie, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I'll see you soon." She hung up before I could argue. Maggie showed up exactly 2 hours later, looking sharp and no-nonsense in a blazer and jeans. She ordered us both coffee, sat down across from me, and said, "Tell me again." From the beginning. So I did. And this time, I didn't hold back. I told her about the years of being the easy kid. The pattern of favoritism. The $150,000 wedding. The expectation that I sacrifice my career for a party. The meeting where my own parents sided with Rachel without hesitation. Maggie listened without interrupting. When I finished, she set down her coffee and said, "I need to tell you something." I waited. "I've been helping your parents financially for the last 3 years." I blinked. "What?" "Your dad's retirement fund took a hit during the market crash. They didn't want anyone to know, so I've been quietly covering things. Property taxes. Car repairs. Medical bills. About $40,000 so far." I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. "They told me it was temporary," Maggie continued. "That they'd pay me back once things stabilized. But instead of saving, they've been dumping money into Rachel's wedding." "Does Rachel know?" "I doubt it. And I doubt they'll ever tell her." Maggie leaned forward. "Emma, I love my brother. But what he's doing to you isn't okay. And I'm not going to keep funding it." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to their house right now. And I'm going to have a conversation they won't forget." I didn't go with her. I went home, poured myself a glass of wine, and waited. 2 hours later, my phone exploded. My mom called 4 times. My dad texted twice. Rachel sent a string of messages calling me manipulative, selfish, and a liar. I didn't respond to any of them. Then Maggie called. "How'd it go?" I asked. I told them the truth. That I know about the wedding budget. That I know they're lying to you about their finances. And that I'm done helping them until they start treating you with basic respect. "What did they say?" "Your dad tried to justify it. Said Rachel's wedding was an investment in her happiness. Your mom cried and said I was being cruel. Rachel called me a bitch and stormed out." I almost smiled. And I told them that if they don't apologize to you and make this right, I'm cutting them off completely. No more money. No more help. They're on their own. I felt a rush of gratitude so strong it almost knocked me over. "Maggie, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did. You've been carrying this family for years, Emma. It's time someone carried you." I went to the conference. I presented my research. I networked. I got 2 job offers before I even left Denver. And I didn't speak to my parents for 3 weeks. When I finally did, it was because my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "Can I come in?" she asked. I almost said no. But I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on my couch, wringing her hands. "I'm sorry." I crossed my arms. "For what, specifically?" "For everything. For the way we treated you. For the meeting. For not standing up for you. Why didn't you?" She looked down. "Because Rachel was so upset, and I didn't want to make it worse. So you made it worse for me instead." She didn't answer. "Mom, do you even realize what you've done? You've spent my entire life telling me I don't need you. That I'm fine on my own. That Rachel's the one who needs help. And now you're surprised that I don't feel like part of this family? You are part of this family. Then why doesn't it feel like it?" She started crying. "I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if you can." She left 20 minutes later. I didn't hug her goodbye. We're halfway through this story, and things are about to get even more intense. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe for more stories like this one. Let's continue, ***. Rachel's wedding happened without me. I didn't get an invitation. I didn't get an apology. I got a text from my dad 2 days before the ceremony saying, "It would mean a lot to Rachel if you came." I didn't respond. Nyla threw me a freedom party that weekend instead. We ordered takeout, watched bad movies, and celebrated the fact that I had finally stopped trying to earn love from people who weren't capable of giving it. It felt better than any wedding. The fallout was slow but steady. My parents kept trying to reach out, but their messages were always vague and non-committal. "We miss you. Can we talk?" Family is important. Never an actual apology. Never accountability. Rachel sent me a long, rambling email 3 months after the wedding. It was half apology, half accusation. She said she understood why I was hurt, but that I'd abandoned her on the most important day of her life. She said she hoped I was happy now that I'd ruined her memories of the wedding. I deleted it without responding. Maggie, true to her word, stopped helping my parents financially. They tried to guilt her into changing her mind, but she held firm. She told me later that my dad had called her selfish, and my mom had accused her of choosing sides. "I am choosing sides," Maggie had said. "I'm choosing the side of basic human decency." I started seeing a therapist. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to make sure I didn't carry the weight of my family's dysfunction into the rest of my life. I learned words like scapegoat and golden child and parentification. I learned that the way I'd been treated wasn't normal. That I hadn't imagined it. That I wasn't being dramatic or selfish or ungrateful. I was just done. 6 months after the wedding, I accepted a job offer in Seattle. It was a dream position, better pay, better benefits, better opportunities. It also happened to be 1,200 miles away from my parents. I didn't tell them I was moving until 2 weeks before I left. My mom cried. My dad asked if I was running away from my problems. Rachel didn't respond at all. Maggie helped me pack. Nyla drove with me across the country and spent a week helping me settle in before flying back home. I started my new job. I made new friends. I built a life that felt entirely my own. And I didn't look back. A year passed. Then 2. My parents reached out occasionally, but the messages were always surface level. "How's work? Hope you're doing well. We're thinking of you." Never anything real. Never anything that acknowledged what had happened. I responded politely but distantly. I didn't visit. I didn't call. I kept them at arm's length because that was the only way I felt safe. Rachel sent me a friend request on social media. I didn't accept it. Then, 2.5 years after I moved, Maggie called me with news. "Your parents are selling the house." I frowned. Why? They're broke, Emma. The wedding cleaned them out, and they've been living off credit cards ever since. They can't afford the mortgage anymore. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Sadness. Anger. And something that felt dangerously close to vindication. Where are they going? They're moving in with Rachel. I almost laughed. How's that going to work? Not well, if I had to guess. Rachel and Dante just bought a 2-bedroom condo. And from what I hear, their marriage isn't exactly smooth sailing. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know. Are you okay? Maggie asked. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. I'm okay. 3 years after I moved to Seattle, I got engaged. His name was Sean, and he was kind, steady, and the exact opposite of my family. He knew everything about my past, and he never once tried to fix it or minimize it. He just listened. He supported me. He loved me exactly as I was. We planned a small wedding. 30 people. A beautiful venue overlooking the water. Simple, intimate, and entirely ours. I invited Maggie and Nyla. I did not invite my parents or Rachel. My mom found out through Facebook. She called me, crying, begging me to reconsider. You're my daughter, she said. I should be at your wedding. You were invited to be part of my life, I said calmly. You chose Rachel. Over and over again. This is the consequence of that choice. Please, Emma. I'm sorry. I know I made mistakes, but... You didn't make mistakes, Mom. You made choices. And I'm making mine. I hung up. Rachel sent me a message calling me vindictive and cruel. She said I was punishing them for one argument. I blocked her number. My wedding was perfect. Maggie walked me down the aisle. Nyla was my maid of honor. Sean cried when he saw me. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I'm 32 now. I've been married for 2 years. Sean and I just bought our first house. I have a career I love, friends who show up for me, and a life that feels stable and safe. I haven't spoken to my parents in over 3 years. I haven't seen Rachel in 5. Sometimes people ask me if I regret cutting them off. If I miss them. If I think I'll ever reconcile. The truth is, I don't regret it. I don't miss the versions of them I wanted them to be. And I don't think reconciliation is possible with people who refuse to see what they've done wrong. I spent 26 years trying to earn a place in my own family. I bent myself into shapes I didn't recognize. I swallowed my hurt and my anger and my grief because I thought that's what love required. But love isn't supposed to hurt like that. Family isn't supposed to feel like a competition you're destined to lose. And the moment I stopped trying to win their approval was the moment I finally started living. I heard through Maggie that Rachel and Dante got divorced last year. That my parents are still living with Rachel in her cramped condo. That money is tight and tensions are high and everyone is miserable. I don't feel good about it. But I don't feel bad either. I just feel free. So here's my question for you. If you've ever been the easy kid, the one who didn't need as much, the one who was expected to understand while someone else got everything, what was the moment you realized it wasn't okay? And what did you do about it? If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments, I read every single one. And remember, you don't owe loyalty to people who've never shown you respect. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away, ***. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.